Hey there, audio friends. Got a quick review for you today. We are looking at the SMSL Raw HA1. Now, the whole reason why I wanted to look at this amplifier was because I recently was sent by Apos, and they sent this other one as well, the Raw DAC Pro 1, or excuse me, Raw Pro DAC 1. And I was really impressed by this, how natural it sounded, the detail, the nuance, and I really haven't felt that way usually about SMSL stuff. So I thought, well, maybe this Raw branding, this kind of branding with this Raw name, maybe they've got it right with this stuff. So because of this DAC, I asked them to send me this one, thinking mistakenly that these were supposed to be kind of like the pair, like this was supposed to be the headphone amplifier for this DAC. But as you can see from the size of these things, they do not match up. And then if we look at what's available on the back, they do not match up. And it's really kind of an interesting product, this HA1. And I feel like their marketing is just a little bit weird on it, because HA you would think would be like a headphone amplifier, like headphone amplifier HA, but I mean it's really strange. So let's look at this device. We'll talk about, you know, where it sits as far as like use case, and then how it compares as far as audio quality goes to to the Raw, like if it's a match for the Raw Pro DAC 1, and like really where it sits, I guess, is where we'll get to. So let's look at this guy. So what is this thing then? Well, you can see it's a headphone amplifier. Like you've got the headphone ports on here. You've got balance 4.4 1/4 inch, cool, okay. You've got the same kind of screen and layout button, right? Clickable button here to control it and to control volume. On there, you've got a little LCD screen that looks very similar to the Raw Pro DAC 1, but then you get around on the back here and you're like, oh, dang, this thing's a speaker amp. And it actually has a DAC in it. And that's what really threw me, right? Because it's called the SMSL Raw HA1 headphone amplifier, right? But it's also got a DAC in here and it's a speaker amp. So I don't know, it's just, I feel like the marketing is like off on it. Like it doesn't seem right, and it feels like there's more here than they're telling us about, which seems strange, okay? So anyway, this thing's got, as far as DAC stuff, it's got USB in, it's got HDMI ARC, which I love, it's got optical in, it's got Bluetooth, it does have a coax in as well, and then a subwoofer out, which is a little, seems a little odd because it's got a DAC, but there is no line out, which is interesting, okay? You got RCA in, and then you've got just your speakers. So you got left-right channel speakers there to hook up. And then, of course, you got power and a little on-off switch. So like really strange, because it doesn't seem like it's really a headphone amplifier per se. It seems like it's really more of just like an all-in-one desktop unit, but the fact that it's got HDMI ARC on it makes it seem like it might be a little more home theater based. So I don't know, quite strange. It comes with the same exact remote as far as I can tell. I thought the remote was fine. It does basic functions. I like to have the remote with this because when you're controlling it with just the dial, there's really no way to go back in the menu system, which is a little annoying as far as I can tell. So I like to use the remote with it. So it doesn't, it's like its own thing, right? It definitely doesn't go with the Raw Pro DAC 1. It does its own thing, but I still tried it as just a headphone amplifier with the Raw Pro DAC 1. And I found that the amplification stage is okay. There's really not a lot to comment on. I would say it's just a pretty generic amplifier stage. I don't think it's really coloring the sound. I also don't think it's doing anything real special. Just very generic is how I would describe the amplification stage. And it sounded okay when I was running the Raw Pro DAC 1 into it. But, obviously this thing's got a DAC inside of it, so I wanted to try that too. And when I did I was really disappointed. I thought it seemed really kind of hazy. I thought like hazy, murky, like just not a lot of clarity there. It just didn't it didn't seem to have a lot of life to it. I just was very unimpressed with the DAC inside of this thing. And it is using a high-end Cirrus Logic CS43131 DAC, whereas this is using a newer, like I think the Raw Pro DAC one is using like the top of the line Saber chip in it. So worlds apart. The quality of digital to analog conversion between the HA1 and the Raw Pro DAC one. I can't stress that enough. So obviously this one's missing the Pro, and that seems to be a fairly large, you know, as far as like where you're thinking about these things line up, the Raw Pro is definitely different from the Raw branded stuff, is what I'm finding out, okay? So I was generally unimpressed with this. Now, where I think this unit could come into play and where it might make sense for a lot of people is for a simple stereo setup, right? So like if you want to add speakers to your TV and you want to do it in a fairly simple way, but you want to be able to use standalone bookshelf speakers that aren't powered, then this thing becomes a pretty good option because it does have HDMI ARC and it has the speaker outs and it has the headphones outs. So it could become kind of a good secondary system, bedroom system type of a situation. And for that purpose, I found it to work fairly well as far as just like getting it up and running and sounding okay. That being said, on my bedroom system where I tested it, what I'm using right now is an older topping E30 DAC running into an older Fosi Class A stereo amplifier. And I would say I still preferred that setup sound-wise to this. But as far as functionality goes, this was obviously a much cleaner, simpler setup with all-in-one box and with the HDMI ARC. So I think when you start looking at it from that lens, this becomes an okay product that I think I can say is worth trying out in that situation. I think it does that fairly well as long as you have reasonable expectations as far as the audio quality. It's just going to be okay, right? It's not going to be the best thing you've ever heard. Even for the price, if you want to piece together some individual components, I think you can do better than this. But if you're looking for just a simple all-in-one solution to run speakers and that has HDMI ARC, I think this is okay. But that's all it is okay. What's interesting is I was so enamored with this guy, the Raw Pro DAC 1, that I asked Apos to send me a couple other of these Raw branded items. So I actually have the Raw MDA1, I think, which is supposed to be more of their all-in-one DAC headphone amplifier that uses a different DAC chip than both of these. So that's what's going to be coming up next, is we'll be testing that, and we'll see how that compares as we continue to explore the SMSL Raw branding. But I think I'm going to make a prediction here that that is also not going to be amazing because it doesn't have the Raw Pro branding on it. And I think we need to wait until we get a Raw Pro headphone amp. And then that's really the thing that I'd like to test, I think is what it's coming down to. So if you're interested in that, please consider liking, subscribing, doing that, sticking around. That should be coming up here in the next couple of weeks, that review. With that being said, I'm going to thank Apos for sending out these units for review, and I'm going to thank you for watching, and I'm going to say I hope I see you in the next one. Thanks.